Hi everyone, this is Marguerite. Please make sure you stick around after the story. We've got an announcement for you. We've also got a request. Could you help support us? Along with our sister shows, we raised the rates we pay authors for their stories this September, and our Patreon account is still shy of meeting its goal to cover that cost. It would mean the world to us all here at EA to reach that goal by the end of the year, so we can sustain the levels of original free fiction in your podcatcher each week. Head to patreon.com/EA podcasts to pick your reward. We've got mugs and stickers, and join us on our members-exclusive Discord. Thanks so much. Now, on with the story. This is Cast of Wonders, the young adult fiction podcast featuring stories of the fantastic. Welcome. I'm your host and co-editor, Marguerite Kenner. Episode 390 for the 31st of December, 2019. Our story this week was a direct solicitation based on a hilarious typo and resulting Twitter thread. If you're a writer and looking for prompts, check out the hashtag #ShortStoryWL used by the EA podcasts. The Tale of Descruptikn and the Product Launch Requirements Documentation by Effie Seiberg is a Cast of Wonders original, narrated by Emily Smith. Effie Seiberg is a fantasy and science fiction writer. Her stories can be found in the Women Destroy Science Fiction special edition of Lightspeed magazine, Galaxy's Edge, Analog, and Fireside Fiction, among others, as well as on Podcastle, Escape Pod, and here at Cast of Wonders. Effie lives in San Francisco. She likes to make sculpted cakes and bad puns, as you'll hear. You can follow her on Twitter at Effies, that's EFFIES, or read more of her work at effieseiberg.com. Links, as always, in the show notes. Emily E. Smith is an anesthesiologist by trade and is now enjoying the unique experience of training new anesthesiologists when she isn't raising a small child, or narrating podcasts, or reading, or listening to audiobooks, or gardening, or building things, or repainting the house. She's always busy, but always has time for one more story. And now, we've a tale to tell.
The Tale of Descruptikn and the Product Launch Requirements Documentation by Effie Seiberg. Once upon a time, there was an associate project manager named Jamie. She knew she was lucky to have this job. So many others in her graduating class were still juggling nanny gigs and catering gigs and tutoring gigs, and so many side hustles they could have been a dodecahedron. It was at a small company that ostensibly helped foreign students find scholarships for American colleges, but actually, if you looked closely, you could see that the company didn't do much and was just a vanity project so the founder could say he was innovating and disrupting and other such nonsense buzzwords. Considering how little the company actually accomplished, Jamie was astonished that she was the 100th person to join the team. Jamie wanted to like her job, but it was hard. Her boss had the sort of privileged white dude entitlement that comes of an upbringing full of nothing but other privileged white dudes. He was singularly unqualified for his job, but since he and the founder had been frat brothers in college, his position was unshakable. And her colleagues were mostly cut from the same cloth. One day, her boss came into her small gray cubicle. "Jamie, check it out," he said, putting an elbow on top of the cubicle's half wall and leaning. "The website launch you're working on, we got to get it out in a month. You're good for that, right?" He brought out an apple and gave it a noisy crunch. A droplet of spit and apple juice splatted down onto a pile of papers on Jamie's desk. Why?" she asked, I thought we had 3 more months for it. I mean, we haven't even gotten everyone to agree what needs to go in the website, and coding it up will take a few weeks on its own. And we haven't even started on design yet. Yeah, he said through a noisy mouthful, but now it's got to be next month. You can deliver, right? I'm counting on you. Or, if you can't, then we aren't really getting the project management we're supposed to be getting from you, so... He gave a half smile and some finger guns and left. This was a disaster. There was no way she'd be able to pull this off in 1 month with everybody squabbling, especially without the clout she needed to get people to listen to her in the first place. And if she was fired, the job market was dire for recent grads, and she didn't have the 5+ years experience every entry-level job paradoxically required. With a sigh, she set up a meeting with all the stakeholders for the next day and started the product launch requirements documentation. Perhaps if she used a Gantt chart, broke everything that needed to happen into the minutest steps and gave each of them a deadline, they'd make it on time. And maybe a genie would pop out of her laptop, pay off her student loans, and give her a pony. She searched for Gantt chart template, but couldn't find one she liked. Easy Gantt chart template and thorough Gantt chart template didn't give better results. But when she searched for Gantt chart template for participants who are egotistical morons, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. So, you got a project management issue and some idiots, it said. It had to be from someone who overheard the conversation with her boss. Her Google searches were that insecure. But she'd made sure not to give out her cell number to anyone at the office. "Who is this? How'd you get my number?" she texted back. "Look down," came the reply. Uneasily, she looked under the desk. There, sitting on the power brick for her laptop, sat a small, troll-like creature. It sort of looked like a ball of cottage cheese with skinny limbs and a pointy hat, and it was uniformly greenish-brown, sort of like a bad choice of khaki, which made its bulbous nose look like a tiny pickle. The creature waved. Jamie looked around to see if anyone was watching, then crouched under her desk. "Who are you? How'd you even get in here?" It reached into its cottage cheesy flesh and pulled out an employee swipe card. "You folks should really tighten up your security. Anyway, never mind all that. You need to spin these meetings into gold, and I'm just the person to help you." "Why would you help me? What do you want in return?" Jamie had learned very quickly that nothing was free in corporate America. It cost your soul to enter. And then the rest of your life, all for a chance at semi-subsidized health care. "Tisk so distrusting," it said, shoving the card back into its side. Its flesh absorbed it soundlessly. "But yes, I do want something in return. I'll make tomorrow's meeting work beautifully in exchange for your annual dental exam." "You want, like how? Like you want to have it instead of me?" The creature nodded. Jamie shrugged. Why not? Her teeth were fine and she could hold out another year. "Good," crowed the creature. "I'll text you the contract." The next day, Jamie's meeting went smooth as butter. People came to agreements. Decisions were made. There was no bickering, only collaboration. Her insurance even confirmed that her annual dental exam had happened and been paid for. And for a full week, every single deadline was met. Until things started to slip again. Stakeholders bickered, decisions were held up in endless loops of debate, and a legal snarl showed up, and everything stalled. Jamie went to her boss's desk. I don't think we're going to make the website deadline. We can't legally say that we're going to get people into American colleges, And the immigration lawyer we're working with just went on maternity leave with nobody to cover her. It's going to take a little while to find a new lawyer to review our material. Can you let the CEO know?" Her boss grudgingly looked up from his online poker game. "Jamie, you've been working here for what? A few weeks now?"
8 months.
"Right. You're in the big leagues now. Nobody's going to hold your hand through your job or do your homework for you."
"No, of course not. I didn't mean..."
"So this lawyer who went on maternity leave, she's been pregnant for a while, yeah? So it's your job to know these things and prepare, see the risks that are coming, and fix them before they're a problem."
"Sure, but she had an emergency."
"Her emergency is not my problem, and you should know that." He turned back to his screen, which was now flashing a countdown for how long he had left before he automatically folded his poker hand. "Just find a way to get it done, Jamie. Frickin' millennials."
Jamie nodded and calmly walked to the ladies' room, where she shut herself into a stall and burst into tears. There was no way she could possibly control every little thing that could go wrong with this launch.
Certainly no way she could have prevented the car from hitting the lawyer, who had to have an emergency early C-section to save the baby, and who was fortunately now recovering with her now healthy child. It wasn't fair, but neither was the world, and she still had a chance to salvage things. Boss wanted her to do her homework? Fine. Homework she would do. Jamie dried her eyes, splashed cold water on her face until she looked refreshed, and calmly walked back to her desk. Some quick internet searches for immigration lawyers led to a series of calls and "we'll get back to yous." And once again, the creature showed up under her desk.
"So, how is it going?"
it asked with a smug smile. "You know damn well how it's going," snapped Jamie. "Can you fix it?"
"Of course. All it will cost you is your annual medical exam."
She'd actually been looking forward to her annual medical exam because she thought she had a good chance of getting a referral to a therapist for her raging anxiety and depression. Both had increased dramatically since she started this job. But she reasoned if she was out of a job, both conditions would get even worse, and perhaps she could hold out a little longer without getting treatment. Maybe? Surely there were some online listicles that could help keep both issues at bay a little longer. "Fine," she said. "Take the annual medical exam, but I want things to work for more than just 1 week this time."
Of course,
said the little creature, using the same tone that one would use to soothe a toddler crying about something silly.
"I'll text you the contract."
"Condescending little shit," muttered Jamie under her breath as it left. But, yet again, her meetings were spun into gold. Despite the previous delays, everything got back on track. Her lawyer emailed from the hospital about the text changes they'd need. The design team and the web front-end team were working side by side. Even the back-end engineers were collaborating with the front-end. Jamie's insurance sent her a note that said that since her annual exam was done and she was declared healthy, they would not be paying for anything else short of an ER visit. That was fine. She'd get through this launch, try the new mindfulness exercises BuzzFeed had recommended, and just hold out for another year, by which time she could get a new job and new benefits. Maybe. Everything was going swimmingly 2 weeks before the launch, and then 1 week before the launch, and then 1 day before the launch, it turned out that the site didn't work on iOS, because a big feature on the front page was using a third-party API whose update in the last hour broke everything on the platform. An issue that was genuinely outside the team's control. Jamie had done her homework. Hell, she'd done many other people's homework too, much in the spirit of any group project. This wasn't anything she could have foreseen. She poked her head into her boss's office. if you're not here to tell me that everything is perfect and on time for tomorrow so our founder can show off the site at the big networking event at his country club, I don't want to hear it. Honestly, how entitled can you be, Jamie? She nodded and without another word dragged her feet back to her desk and started to pack up her things. Why bother sticking around another day to see the axe drop? They could fire her whether she made the commute in tomorrow or not. At least she could get unemployment benefits if they fired her. But as she reached under her desk to unplug the power strip she'd brought in from home, the one that was there because there weren't enough outlets for her company-mandated electronics, but for which they refused to reimburse her, there again was the little creature. "What the hell?" she shouted, this time not caring if anyone heard her. "I read the contract. It said the launch would happen on time."
The launch can happen on time.
It moved to block the plug of the power strip.
I guaranteed your team would produce the needed requirements on time. I gave no guarantees about third-party tools, and I have delivered. Everything your team needed to decide on and do, they did.
But we still can't launch if nothing works on iOS. If the founder's going to demo this at some country club with potential investors, every single one of them who wants to check out the site will pull it up on an iPhone.
"Not my problem," said the creature. Unless... do you have something else to trade?"
Jamie sat back in her seat, dejected. "No, nothing else. I have no other annual exams and nothing else that will be paid for, unless I essentially get hit by a truck."
"Oh, but that's not true." The creature rubbed its hands together. "You have signing power for the company, right? They gave you that so you could sign the API contract so things could keep moving while all of management was at Burning Man. So all you need to do is sign over your next big product launch, and then everything will launch tomorrow, on time, functional as can be."
What does that even mean, signing over the next launch? Like you'd have the rights to the new product offering? The creature giggled.
"You could say that, yes. Come on, what do you care? You need to meet this deadline. The website isn't a product anyway. And if nothing else, this'll give you more of a buffer to find your next job. You will get hired or fired in no relation to whether what you produce makes money or the company gets screwed over. And they sure won't hesitate to screw you over, too."
Jamie thought about it. She thought about her friend Shayna, who was babysitting third graders instead of working as a third grade teacher. She thought about her friend Joji, who was driving for Lyft and designing company logos for $5 a pop instead of having an actual full-time graphic design position. She thought of her friend Arden, who still lived with his parents along with 5 other grown siblings, all stuck in the same house. She thought about her friend Mara, who committed suicide last year after her depression was left untreated for too long. She needed this job. It would only take one unexpected bill, one car crash, one tiny hiccup to put her right where her friends were, even if it was just to tide her over until the next job. Unemployment benefits weren't great, and she didn't know when she'd get another chance as good as this one, for all that this chance was looking like a real shit Sunday. Damn it, fine.
Good, cried the creature with glee. "I'll text you the contract."
But this time, we're putting in something bigger. I don't want just this website to go out on time. I want a career. That means you help me land the next job and the next one after that until I get a really successful product launch. Then you can have that one. The creature sniffed, annoyed, but then nodded. After this, Jamie's career flourished. She got the website out on time, worked that into a promotion and a raise, and worked that into a better position at another company. Soon she was a product manager, not a project manager, a job with a better path for growth and responsibility, and soon after that she even had a team of her own. Things were good, and she'd almost forgotten about the strange little creature she'd made a deal with 2 years ago. But of course, as these stories always go, the bill always comes due. Your word needs to be your bond. A deal's a deal, and all that other folksy whatnot. So, the night before Jamie's first big launch as a director-level product manager, when she was working late in her office, not just a depressing cubicle, making sure every last detail was indeed taken care of, her phone once again buzzed with a text.
"Here to collect,"
said the message, listed as coming from Weird Blob Guy. And sure enough, down by her foot sat the creature, a big grin going from side to side of its whole head.
"So," it said, "what are we launching? And don't give me the whole, 'Oh no, this launch is my baby, I couldn't possibly' crap. We both know what you signed."
Said Jamie. "I'm not sure that's true." She twirled her stylus and went back to her very large touchscreen monitor. 2 years of therapy had left her much better able to manage tense situations.
"Do you need me to spell it out for you? Because actually, I know a great deal more than you about what you signed, and I can use very small words to explain why the rights to this launch are all mine. And if you don't sign them over right now, you'll have a very unpleasant patent dispute starting tomorrow, which will tank the company's profile. I'll extend it out for years, extracting every dollar the company has on the series of lawsuits I'll throw at you. Your company will be ruined, and with it, your reputation as a product manager who can catch such things before a launch."
Said Jamie again. "What a nice theory. But if you'll excuse me, I'm quite busy." If this new launch hit 1 million downloads, she had a bonus waiting for her. It would be enough to invest in Arden and Joji's new business, which would get Arden out of his parents' house and Joji out of their Lyft gig. The marketing for this launch was due to hit in about an hour, and the first press release out in 2.
"You stupid little girl, playing at being in business,"
shouted the creature, stamping its foot.
"Pay attention to me. I own you."
Jamie sighed and turned her chair. "You're a patent troll, a real parasite on society. But the trouble is, while you're making your scammy little deals, you aren't even very good at them."
"But we have a contract. You signed it," it shrieked.
"We don't have a contract. First of all, the initial contract was invalid because I don't have the rights to this product myself, and thus I can't transfer them to you. I suppose it might be valid if I ever own the company and the rights to a future product, but that's unlikely because of point 2, which is that the initial contract was with a company called Rumple Inc., and just like with any good project management, I did my homework and actually looked into what my risks and liabilities are. Rumple Inc. is owned by a series of shell companies that ends with one called Descruptikn to go here, which I can only assume meant it was set up with a typo in its name. And that one is owned by you, a person banned from owning or controlling any patent enforcement company by a 2009 U.S. Patent and Trademark Office ruling after your previous patent trolling companies were deemed too abusive, meaning that the contract is void and unenforceable." She turned her chair back to her screen. "So,
I don't owe you anything, and if you don't disappear, I'll call security on you. Not to mention, it seems as though you've been pulling this same trick with countless other people. Based on what I've heard from other folks in my community, I'm sure the FBI's fraud division will be delighted to get a good, long description of everyone's case. And of course, I'll give them the photo of you I grabbed the first time we met. So if you don't mind, I'm very busy. She turned a few more cells in her Gantt sheet green, clearing the elements for launch.
You can't do that, it shrieked. I made you! You'd be nothing without me.
Sadly for you, that's just not true. I'm an excellent product manager, and you know why? Because I do my homework. There's nothing you've done or can do that can take that away. The little creature screamed and stamped its feet until it disappeared in a cloud of poorly researched vitriol and straw man arguments, and was never heard from again. And so the moral of the story, because fairy tales and fables always have morals, is to read your contracts before you sign them, and to never, ever feed the trolls.
This episode is scheduled to go live on December 31st. And I picked this story to be the last one we aired this year because in a lot of ways, this story is just for me. Its kernel of idea comes from a hilarious typo and Twitter conversation. And it's practically a checklist of things I love in stories. Modern-day fantasy, legalese coming to the rescue, and someone who thought to pull a fast one getting their comeuppance when the protagonist outthinks them. In other words, it's the perfect high note story to precede an ending, bolstering us up with buoyant emotions as we take that first tentative step into new beginnings, whether calendrical or other. You might be sensing what I'm about to say next, and I'll be honest, I've been avoiding it. Like a contract, like Jamie's texts with Descruptikn, saying it makes it real. But here goes. This is my last episode as editor for Cast of Wonders. The progression from volunteer and narrator to slush reader to editor is a goal many have when they work with a publication. And that's part of why it's time for me to step away. When a creative project only has space for a few at the most senior level, those people need to make way to allow others the opportunities they have enjoyed. It's a healthy, sustainable way to organize a project that continues to rely on goodwill and volunteerism, despite all the industry's efforts to the contrary. And it's a culture I'm proud to say all the escape artists shows foster. I have loved the last 7 years in this role. We've created Banned Books Week, a fiercely brilliant celebration of the freedom to read and a power to fight against censorship. The Little Wonders collections have thrived, and the Artemis Rising showcases have given more of our team the opportunity to practice and develop editorial skills. And yes, we. No creative endeavor is the result of a single person's labor. Barry and Graham laid the foundations that Danny and Alan and Ricky and Alexis built on top of, soaring to the heights that Catherine, Carissa, Andrew, Jeremy, Tanya, Amy, Alicia, Trace, William, Sean, Ray, Susie, Emma, and Chris have reached. Thank you all, especially Catherine. I'm so proud of you all and excited for what you'll do next. I've loved seeing new YA markets come into existence and older ones evolve. I got to vote for the Lodestar, a literally in all but name Hugo Award for YA novels, and even see Cast of Wonders on the long list a few times. which is incredibly impressive for a marketing category that has rarely celebrated its short-form fiction. And all of that gives me hope that the work I've been a part of will form another flagstone in the foundation of yet higher achievements to come. The current and future generations of genre fiction are in fiercely inclusive, talented, courageous hands. You have such tales to tell. Go tell them. Every year in January, Cast of Wonders takes a break to catch our breath and to plan the year ahead. Throughout the month, we'll be bringing you our staff picks, favorite episodes with new commentary from members of our backstage crew. We hope you'll join us. Cast of Wonders is a production of Escape Artists Incorporated and relies on the generous support of its donors and patrons to bring you the best in free audio fiction every week. Head to patreon.com/EA Podcasts to join their ranks and get instant access to our supporters-only Discord. Or check our website for Ko-fi and PayPal options. If you're low on cash, that's okay too. You can share, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever else you listen to and enjoy audio fiction. Our episodes are released under the Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. That means you can download or listen to the episode on any device you like, but you can't change it or sell it. Our theme music, Appeal to Heavens, is by Alexi Nov and is available from Promo DJ. Cast of Wonders is brought to you by co-editor Catherine Inskip, assistant editors Andrew K. Ho and Carissa Sluss. Our producer is Jeremy Carter. Our art director is Alexis Goebel, community manager Danny Daly, associate editors Tonya Bezpalco, Amy Brennan, Alicia Capriasso, Trace Fontiel, William Height Minor, Sean Proctor, Ray O, Susie Rodriguez, Emma Smales, and Chris Tang. And for the last 7 years, it has been my pleasure to be your co-editor, host, and all-around cheerleader of short fiction, Marguerite Kenner. Thank you all for listening and for everything. I hope 2020 brings us all peace, joy, success, and happiness. Happy New Year, everyone.